give you anything but love, baby. It's the one thing I have plenty of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, we're sure to find happiness, and I guess all those things you've always pined for. Gee, I'd like to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets Woolworth doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well, well, baby, I can't give you anything but love.
Fairy tales can come true, it can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard you will find to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh while your dreams fall apart at the seams, and life gets more exciting with each passing day, and love is either in your arms or on its way. But you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart. For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, think of all you'll derive out of being alive. And here's the best part, you get a head start if you are among the very young at heart.
Just in time, I found you just in time. Before you came, my time was running low.
I was lost, the losing dice were tossed, my bridges all were crossed, nowhere to go.
Now you're here, and now I know just where I'm going. No more doubt or fear, I found my way. 'Cause love came just in time. You found me just in time, and changed my lonely life that lovely day. Just in time.
The lyrics to the songs that you just heard were all written by women. They were all talented. Give them a hand. Give the girls a hand. All those women were talented, prolific songwriters who added luster to the golden age of Broadway. Now, I've sometimes heard people describe Broadway as being a male-dominated art form. Well, if this is true, we would have to acknowledge that the overwhelming majority of those males also came from marginalized groups, queers, Jews, and other disenfranchised immigrants. However, if we take a closer look, I think we'll find that women have had a much more significant and consistent impact on the Broadway musical than has generally been acknowledged or even reported. Even though they may certainly have been outnumbered by their male counterparts, women have still been a major force in the creation and the development of the American musical from the very beginning right up to today. I'm David Armstrong, and tonight, with the help of some very talented friends and colleagues, it's my great pleasure to share with you the music and the lyrics of these exceptional women and the stories behind them. Please give a hand to Billie Wildrick, James Rocco, Lisa Estridge, and Stephen Tran on the piano. They'll be back in just a few minutes. The Broadway musical was born at the dawn of the 20th century, and several women played a key role in this creation during that early period. Two of the most notable are Rita Johnson Young and Dorothy Donnelly. Those are names you probably are not familiar with, but between 1910 and 1924, Rita Young wrote both the book and the lyrics for 11 Broadway musicals and operettas, including smash hits like Naughty Marietta and Maytime. Maytime was the longest running show of the 19-teens. Altogether, Rita Johnson Young wrote the lyrics to more than 500 songs, including one you just heard Billie sing, Ah, Sweet Mystery of Life, which was from Naughty Marietta, and had music written by Sigmund Romberg. Another even more significant female pioneer was the playwright, lyricist, producer, and director, Dorothy Donnelly. She was born in New York in 1880 into a theatrical family. Her father was an Irish immigrant who, even during an era rife with anti-Irish and anti-Catholic prejudice, was able to forge a successful career as an actor and singer, and eventually he became the manager of the Grand Opera House. Dorothy herself was an acclaimed Broadway leading actress during the years just after the turn, for about a dozen years just after the turn of the century, and then she turned her attention to playwriting. She wrote the book and the lyrics for 8 Broadway operettas and musicals, including several blockbuster hits. Her first was Blossom Time. You can see operettas had a thing. We had Maytime, Blossom Time. They had a thing for flowers. Blossom Time opened in 1921 and was based on the life and the music of Franz Schubert. There were endless road companies of Blossom Time and several Broadway revivals all the way up to 1943. Then in 1924, Dorothy wrote the book, lyrics, and directed a hit musical called Poppy, for which she created a career-defining role for W.C. Fields. His signature persona, you know, that of sort of that bogusly elegant con man that he played all the time, that was invented for Poppy. And it would make him one of the biggest stars of the 1920s and in the 1930s, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. All of that was Dorothy's creation. Then it was her turn to collaborate with Sigmund Romberg, and she created the book and lyrics for what would become the longest running show of the 1920s, The Student Prince. This massively popular operetta would also tour for decades, also be revived on Broadway into the 1940s, and would continue to be produced by theater companies and light opera companies well into the 1980s all over the country. Here's a short clip of one of the songs from one of the 3 movie versions of The Student Prince.
Salamander.
Salamander. Salamander. Salamander. Rex.
Drink it down in one breath.
Drink, 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 drink. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift your stein and drink your beer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift your stein and drink your beer. Drink, drink, drink. Blue eyes that are bright as stars when they're shining on me. And
Drink, drink, drink.
your lips
That are red and sweet as the fruit on the tree. Here's a hope that those bright eyes will shine, lovingly longing
soon into mine. May those lips that are red and sweet tonight with joy my own lips meet. Drink, drink, let the toast start. May young hearts never part. Drink, 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 let every true lover salute his sweetheart.
Drink, 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 to one that are wine and warm as the rose in the sun. Drink, 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 to hearts that will love one only when I am the one.
Here's a hope that those soft arms will twine. All I ask is the right to see those smiling eyes beguile me. Drink, drink, let the toast start, and may young hearts never part.
Drink, drink,
Let every true lover salute his sweetheart. Let's drink.
I'll drink to that. We can give, that's Mario Lanza singing there, not playing the part, but the voice is Mario Lanza. A virile male chorus of students or military men gathering to drink a toast to their comrades began really with the student prince and would become a staple of operettas all the way up to the 1980s with Les Miserables. Another female songwriter of this period included a star, and there were several of these. Several women were stars who wrote songs for themselves, but also wrote songs for other stars and other shows. One of the most significant was singer, comedian, and actress Nora Bayes, who was one of the biggest stars of the era, right up there with Al Jolson, Eddie Cantor, and Fanny Brice. She was so famous she even had a theater named after her. Born as Rachel Goldberg to an Orthodox Jewish family, she invented the name Nora Bayes to better fit the predominantly Irish songs that made up most of her repertoire. By all reports, she was a dynamic presence both on and off the stage. Here is what the Jewish Women's Archive has to say about her.
Known as a willful and temperamental star, Bayes relied on her own charisma and popularity as she resisted managerial control, ignored the details of legal contracts, and refused to follow the rules set by theater administrators. In these battles with male businessmen and in her unconventional personal life, Bayes provides some flamboyant, indeed extreme, examples of the broad social changes happening in the United States in the early 20th century, namely the questioning of traditional roles for women, as well as the challenges to male political and economic power that marked the women's movement of the time.
Nora Bayes contributed songs to 11 Broadway shows, including her signature song, which she performed along with her co-writer and second of 5 husbands, Jack Norworth. From the Ziegfeld Follies of 1908, here is Shine on Harvest Moon.
The night was mighty dark, so you could hardly see, for the moon refused to shine. Couples sitting underneath a willow tree, for love they pine. Little maid was kind of afraid of darkness, so she said, I guess I'll go. Boy began to sigh, looked up at the sky, told January, February, June, or July. So time ain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. So shine on Harvest Moon for me and my gal.
Thank you, Billie. It's interesting to note, especially when thinking about these early women writing in this period, that the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote was not even ratified until August 18, 1920. This year, of course, marks the centennial of that landmark event. With the right to vote came the emergence of what was called the new women of the 1920s, who pushed the boundaries of economic, political, and sexual freedom. Exemplifying this new woman is the lyricist Dorothy Fields, whose amazing 50-year career stretched from the vaudeville era right up to the age of rock. Using her gift for natural, direct language and a great ear for slang and contemporary speech, she wrote some of the best-known songs in the American songbook. She was born into a show business family. Her father was Lou Fields of the famous vaudeville and Broadway team of Weber and Fields. After retiring from performing, Lou became one of Broadway's most successful producers, and he did everything he could to keep his children out of show business. But he made a mistake when he assigned daughter Dorothy the task of organizing his old theatrical scrapbooks. At first, she was interested only in reading the reams and reams of rave reviews that he had gotten, but soon she became fascinated by what the critics had to say about what made the shows good and what material worked and what didn't work. She became obsessed with the inner workings of show business. Not long after that, a friend suggested that she try her hand at writing lyrics, and after some trial and error, she partnered with an Irish-American composer named Jimmy McHugh, and they wrote some songs for a Broadway musical review. Her father attempted to put his foot down, telling her that ladies don't write lyrics. She responded, "I'm not a lady, I'm your daughter." The show was called Blackbirds of 1928, and among the several songs that came out of it was the mega hit, "I Can't Give You Anything But Love," which we heard Lisa sing at the top of the show. That song has been a hit for nearly a century. Most recently, it was recorded by Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett. This breakthrough hit show proved that women writers could compete very well with men. And in the early 1930s, a bumper crop of female lyricists as well as female composers emerged on Broadway. You might call them the Sisters of Dorothy. Composer and lyricist Anne Rennell, originally Anne Rosenblatt, was a Radcliffe College trained composer who wrote everything from bouncy musical comedy tunes to sweeping and dramatic motion picture scores. She served as the music director for several Broadway shows and was romantically involved with George Gershwin. Her most famous songs are "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf" and this great jazz standard.
Willow, weep for me. Willow, weep for me. Bend your grasses green along the stream that runs to sea. Listen to my plea. Listen, willow, and weep for me. Gone, my lover's dream, lovely summer dream. Gone and left me here to weep my tears into the stream. Sad as I can be, hear me, willow, and weep for me. Oh, whisper to the wind and say that love's a sin. Leave my heart a-breaking and making a moan. Murmur to the night to hide her starry light, so none will find crying all alone. Bend your branches down along the ground that cover me. When the shadows fall, bend over, willow, and weep for me. I said, when the shadows fall, bend over, willow, and weep for me. Oh, yeah.
Lisa Estridge, everybody. At the time, there was gossip that Gershwin had actually written that song, since its style was so similar to his blues-inflected compositions. But Anne Rennell was just very much in tune with and on the same wavelength with Gershwin, and simply wrote her own Gershwin-esque melody. Or perhaps Gershwin was influenced by her. Kay Swift was another of Gershwin's girlfriends who found great success writing music. In fact, she's the very first woman to compose the entire score for a Broadway musical. The show was called Fine and Dandy, and the title song became a jazz standard. Here's a little taste of it to refresh your memory. Gee, it's all fine and dandy, sugar candy, when I'm with you. Yada da 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 da. That tune might be familiar because it was so often used as the accompaniment for specialty acts like magicians and acrobats and plate spinners and jugglers, especially on TV variety shows like The Ed Sullivan Show. And because of that, it made it the inevitable choice for 1970s comedian Art Metrano to use in this classic routine.
Is the amazing Art Metrano!
Do you remember that? He made a whole career out of that routine. Please welcome Billie back to the stage to sing another of Kay Swift's hit songs. Oh, there you go. Sorry.
I thought I found the man of my dreams. Now it seems this is where the story ends. He's gonna turn me down and say, can't we be friends? I thought for once it couldn't go wrong. Not for long, I can see the way this ends. He's gonna turn me down and say, can't we be friends? Never again, through with love, through with men. They play their game without shame, and who's to blame? I thought I found a man I could trust. What a bust! This is how the story ends. He's gonna turn me down and say, can't we be friends? Why should I care, though he gave me the air? And why should I cry, heave a sigh, and wonder why? I thought for once it couldn't go wrong, not for long. I can see the way this ends. He's gonna turn me down and say, can't we be, 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 can't we be friends?
Billie Wildrick, everybody. And people thought the friend zone was a new invention. At one point in 1931, there were only 2 hit musicals running on Broadway. One was George Gershwin's Girl Crazy, and the other was Kay Swift's Fine and Dandy, and people who knew about their relationship called them the golden couple of Broadway. Meanwhile, Dorothy Fields and Jimmy McHugh continued to turn out an amazing string of hit songs, including On the Sunny Side of the Street, which they wrote for a show called Lou Leslie's International Review, a sort of Ziegfeld Follies-like extravaganza. Then in the mid-1930s, like most songwriters who were successful, Dorothy was lured to Hollywood, where she began to write with other composers, including Jerome Kern. Most famously, they wrote the score for the Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers classic Swing Time, which included their Academy Award-winning song, The Way You Look Tonight. Dorothy Fields was without a doubt now one of the top lyricists, male or female, in show business. One of her biggest hits was a song called I Feel a Song Coming On, but she later admitted that
I never in my life felt a song coming on. That's not how it works. You have to tease it out, squeeze it out. Lyric writing is hard work, partly because it's so condensed. You have to express an original thought in a very few words. Elizabeth Barrett Browning could write a poem 2 pages long. Try taking that to a publisher.
after several more movies, she returned to Broadway, where she teamed up with her brother, Herbert Fields, and together they wrote the books for 3 Cole Porter musicals. All 3 of them were big hits during the 1940s. Let's Face It, Mexican Hayride, and Something for the Boys. This last one starred the biggest star of the day and arguably the biggest Broadway star of all time, Ethel Merman. Ethel and Dorothy became great friends, and soon Dorothy came up with the idea for a new project for them to work on together. A musical about the legendary sharpshooter Annie Oakley. Her idea was that it would star Ethel Merman, have a book by Herbert and Dorothy, lyrics by Dorothy, and music by Jerome Kern. But just as the stellar team began to work on what everyone thought would be a surefire hit, Jerome Kern suffered a massive heart attack and died. The producers of the show were Rodgers and Hammerstein, who'd become so successful producing their own shows that they branched out into producing plays and musicals by other writers. They suggested an ideal replacement, Irving Berlin. But like Cole Porter, Irving Berlin always wrote both music and lyrics. So Dorothy handed over that part of the job and concentrated on the book. Annie Get Your Gun was, of course, a giant hit, one of the biggest ever, actually, and it made Dorothy a very wealthy woman. During that same decade, another female lyricist debuted on Broadway. She was half of the team of Betty Comden and Adolph Green, and together they wrote the script and/or lyrics, usually both, for 17 Broadway musicals. They began as nightclub performers down in Greenwich Village in a little club called the Village Vanguard, which is still there. And they did a little act just with themselves and a few other people. They wrote the material, and mostly it was sort of topical humor and song parodies. I've asked Albert Evans, one of my great colleagues and friends, to join me out here tonight. And come on out, Albert. Here he comes.
Okay.
Good. Now we'll hear some real singing.
Yeah, exactly.
We thought we'd give you just a little sample of one of those routines that Comden and Green did in Greenwich Village in the late 1930s. This one's is about the Reader's Digest. You remember the Reader's Digest? So that's what it looked like in 1930, that's what it looked like in 1970, and that's what it looks like today. It's still with us, who knew? But of course, the Reader's Digest, the whole idea was they would take books and condense them into shorter forms, I guess for people who didn't have a lot of time to read. You could read the book basically with skipping a lot of it. So Comden and Green thought that was a great idea for a song. Are we ready?
I am ready.
Good. Here's the Reader's Digest by Betty Comden and Adolph Green. In these days of hurly-burly, everyone must hurry. But there's no time for reading books, but you don't have to worry.
You may not have the time, but perhaps you'll
learn to take your culture in a capsule.
Don't
sweat for weeks and weeks over just one book. The Reader's Digest gives it to you in one look.
Les Miserables.
Jean Valjean's no evildoer, stole some bread 'cause he was poor. A detective traced him through a sewer. The end. War and Peace.
War and Peace. Napoleon did not beware. He attacked the Russian bear. He came home on his derriere.
The end.
Romeo and Juliet.
Juliet loved her Romeo. Romeo loved his Juliet so. They both got killed, that's all you have to know. The end. Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
Where'd it go?
Gone with Wind is stuck together.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just make it up.
Here we go. There we go. Scarlett O'Hara's a spoiled pet.
She wants everything that she can't get.
The one thing she can't get is rent. The end. That's all you have to know. The Reader's Digest told you so.
End.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Keep reading. Reading is fundamental.
I think why waste your time on those books? They summed it up. Betty and Adolph's very good friend, Leonard Bernstein, would often show up at their gigs and take over playing the piano himself. And when Lenny was offered the opportunity in 1943 to write the score for a Broadway show about 3 sailors on leave, he insisted that Comden and Green be hired to write the book, the lyrics, and be performers in the show as well. The show was on the town, and it made all 3 of them famous at the very tender age of 26. For the next 6 decades, Betty and Adolph met every morning and set to work with a freshness and enthusiasm that astonished their colleagues. Many people assumed they were married, and they were, just not to each other. They were in a category of their own, unchallenged as the longest-running act on Broadway. Throughout their career, the musicals of Comden and Green featured dynamic female characters that, much like Betty herself, were smart, quirky, unconventional working women. In their hit musical, Bells Are Ringing, the central character is named Ella Peterson, and she works in New York for an answering service. For the young people in the audience, an answering service was basically like voicemail, except a live person took the messages and then gave them to somebody else. I actually had an answering service when I first moved to New York in the 1980s called Bells Are Ringing. The show had become so famous that the answering services named themselves after it. Ella becomes obsessed with helping the people that she gives messages back and forth for. She even assumes different characters on the phone to better serve them. For the playwright Jeffrey Moss, she uses the voice of a little old lady. Why?
He needs a mother.
Ah, I see. Here's Lisa playing Ella Peterson and Comden and Green's perfect relationship.
It's crazy, ridiculous, it doesn't make sense. That's true, but what can I do? I'm in love with a man. Plaza O 4433. It's a perfect relationship. I can't see him, he can't see me. I'm in love with a voice. Plaza O 4433. What a perfect relationship. I talk to him and he just talks to me. And yet I can't help wondering, what does he look like? I wish I knew. What does he look like? Is he 6'7" or 3'2"? Has he eyes of brown or baby blue? Big and mighty or underfed? Trim black mustache or beard of red? Can he dance like Fred Astaire? Is he dark or is he fair? Pompadour or not a hair? Well, I don't care. I'm in love with a man. Plaza O 4433. What a perfect relationship, and that's how things should always be. Our love can never lose its mystery, 'cause I'll never meet him, and he'll never meet me. No, he'll never meet me. What does he look like? My sleeping prince. What does he look like? He could be the fat and balding type, or rugged tweed with a briar pipe. Dark rimmed glasses, super mind, all the sweet poetic kind. It doesn't matter what he'd be, how he'd love me. Suzanne Sapone.
Mom?
Yes, Mr. Moss.
Hey, Mom, would you wake me up in a couple of hours?
Yes, Mr. Moss.
You're the best, Mom.
But he's still just a voice. Plaza O 4433. What a perfect relationship. I can't see him, he can't see me. He calls me Mom, he thinks I'm 83. And I'll never meet him, and he'll never meet me. No, he'll never meet me.
Lisa Estridge, everybody. So you can hear with that song that Broadway musicals have made a transition. On the Town, Comden Green's first show, opened the same year as Oklahoma, and that transition to this new kind of show that Rodgers and Hammerstein brought in, and also Comden Green helped usher in, was much more tied into the story and the characters. And you have character-defining songs like that one now begin to emerge in the musical. This song was actually from the 1950s, but it starts in the 40s, and we find, again, more elaborate forms of song as well. But it's really about the way these songs can get you inside those characters and know them so well. Comden and Green would also write the screenplays for a number of classic Hollywood films, including one that ranks near the top of every list of the greatest films ever made, and frequently hailed as the best movie musical of all time, Singing in the Rain. They also had their share of hit songs. In our opening number, you heard Just in Time, which is also from Bells Are Ringing, and even their lesser shows produced hits. To close the first act, please give a hand to our singing stars again. As they return to share with you one of Betty Comden's best.
The sound of applause is delicious. It's a thrill to have the world at your feet. The praise of the crowd is exciting, but I've learned that is not what makes a life complete. There's one thing you can do for the rest of your days. that's worth more than applause. The screaming crowd, the bouquets.
Make someone happy, make just one person happy, make just one heart the heart you sing to. One smile that cheers you, one face that lights when it's near you. One man you're everything to.
Fame, if you win it, it comes and goes in a minute. Where's the real stuff in life to cling to?
Love is the answer. Someone to love is the answer. Once you found them, build your world around them. Make someone happy. Take just one someone happy, and you will be happy too.
When on foreign shores I am, very nearly yours I am. But if inclined to stray I am, dear heart, that's the way I am. When in Spain, for reasons I don't explain, I remain enjoying a brew. Don't deplore my fondness for Fundador. You know how a Fundador can lead to a few. And baby, when in Rome, I do as the Romans do. If perchance I'm saying farewell to France, and romance drops in from the blue, share a more, I beg of you, please ignore my taking a brief detour with somebody new. It's just that when in Rome, I do as the Romans do. And though from Italy I lie to you prettily, why think of me bitterly? You know that I'm true. Except now and then in Rome, I get that old yen in Rome. And naturally, when in Rome, I do as the Romans do. Happily, best wishes from Napoli. Don't cable me snappily and tell me we're through. 'Cause once again in Rome, in somebody's den in Rome, then pussycat, when in Rome, I do as the Romans, disregard the signs and the omens. When in Rome, I do as the Romans do.
James Rocco, everybody. Those delightful and perfectly crafted lyrics were the creation of another great female lyricist of the 1950s and 60s, Carolynn Leigh. Her first Broadway job was contributing lyrics to the musical version of Peter Pan, starring Mary Martin. She then teamed up with jazz pianist Cy Coleman to create a number of hit pop tunes like that one, along with Witchcraft, The Best Is Yet to Come, and It Amazes Me. They also collaborated on a number of moderately successful Broadway shows, but all of which created hit songs. But unfortunately, by all reports, Carolynn Leigh was a strange and difficult woman. I don't mean difficult in the way that every strong woman gets called a bitch. I mean that she seems to have had some real challenges with collaborating with people, and there's nothing more collaborative than making a Broadway musical. One mild example is a director cut one of the songs from a show they were working on, and everyone on the team acknowledged that the song wasn't working and had to go, except for Carolynn Leigh. She got so infuriated that she actually marched out of the theater, grabbed a policeman and hauled him in and tried to have the director arrested for cutting her song. This sort of behavior unfortunately derailed her career, and after a while nobody wanted to work with her, which is such a shame because she was such a great lyricist. But she will be remembered for songs like that, and certainly for Peter Pan. That show enchanted the nation when it became the first Broadway musical adapted for television in 1955. When it was broadcast, it was watched by an unprecedented 65 million people. No show on television today gets ratings like that except the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Dorothy Fields continued to write in top form throughout the 1950s, including two big hits, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn and the 1959 musical that won the Tony Award for Best Musical that year called Redhead, and it starred Gwen Verdon and was directed by Bob Fosse. Then, for the first time, Dorothy's career hit a lull. In 1965, she turned 60 and started to think of herself as retired against her will. One night at a cocktail party, composer Cy Coleman, who had been working with Carolynn Leigh, approached her and asked her if she wanted to collaborate with him on a new Broadway show. She grabbed his arm and said, "Thank God, I thought I was dead." The show turned out to be Sweet Charity, a hard-edged, absolutely up-to-the-minute story of a dance hall girl looking for love. Dorothy was again working with top collaborators, Cy Coleman, Gwen Verdon, Bob Fosse, and Neil Simon. And Dorothy's lyrics astonished everyone. She had not lost her ear for contemporary speech, and phrase after hip phrase perfectly matched the zeitgeist of the swinging 60s. Before we leave, however, the golden age of Broadway, I want to share with you the story of another significant and largely unsung inventor of the Broadway musical. All of the other women that we've talked about tonight, composers and lyricists, have had their names billed prominently on the posters, playbills, sheet music covers, and record albums of the shows that they worked on. But this woman's considerable contribution are known up until very recently only by people, real insiders who worked in the theater. Her name is Trudy Ritman, and she has a career that spanned from the 1930s to the 1970s, and she contributed material to 33 Broadway musicals, including Carousel, Brigadoon, South Pacific, Finian's Rainbow, The King and I, My Fair Lady, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Peter Pan, The Sound of Music, and Camelot. To help me tell her story more fully, I'm delighted to bring Albert Evans back to the stage. Come on out, Albert.
I'm here already.
You're there. Wow, oh, you're there. You scared me. You were sitting at the piano the whole time.
I know, I was just daydreaming.
Lurking.
Hello.
So I know you know a lot about Trudy Ritman.
Oh, yeah.
And most people don't. So I thought you'd be a good colleague here. I'm sure like you, when we would work on shows when we were in high school or college and things like that, and you do, any of those shows, South Pacific or The King and I, you'd see her name in very small print. And most of the time she was billed as the dance arranger. Before we get to the specifics of Trudy, share with people who might not understand, what does a dance arranger actually do?
Well, the short answer is she arranges the music for the dances, but it's actually a very complex skill. It's very specific. Basically, while the rest of the show is rehearsing on stage, the director is moving people around, and maybe small numbers, duets and stuff are being staged.
They're doing the scenes in the major songs.
Trudy Rittman, or the dance arranger, and the choreographer take all the dances away somewhere. A lot of times when they used to actually rehearse in the theater, they would go down into like the lounge downstairs.
The ladies' lounge in the lower lobby. Yeah, a lot of Broadway was created in the ladies' lounge in the lower lobby of theaters. And still today, when you move into the theater and that's the only place you are, things happen all over the theater. Whatever spaces are available, people go off to work on something.
And the lobbies were usually carpeted, which isn't the best place to dance, but that's where they would send them.
And what would happen there in these? So this is the dance rehearsals that are happening.
So they would have a song that the composer had written, and the choreographer probably had some ideas already. But basically, the choreographer would build the dances on the dancers, the specific dancers he had. And this is where probably half of his ideas would come up, his or hers. A lot of choreographers.
During the rehearsal on the spot.
Yeah. And so the dance arranger would sit at the piano and watch what the choreographer was doing. And the choreographer might say, I want to do 16 bars of a tango, or let's do a soft shoe, or let's have a waltz at this section. So Trudy, let's say it's Trudy, would just improvise this. She would have some sort of blueprint that she would create at the piano, and then she would go home at night and really fix it up and make it perfect. But at least they had something to dance to at that moment. And a lot of this music was original. It would be sort of based on the composer's tunes, but if the composer had written, say, just a polka, and suddenly the choreographer wanted a tango.
Or 5 minutes of a polka where she's got to come up with variations and alternate tunes and a new section and things like that. Because you can't just play the same basic tune over and over again.
So a dance arranger has to be a composer as well. She has to know all the musical styles, anything that the choreographer can throw at her. And she also has to be able to improvise and think on the spot. It's sort of like when comedians take an improv class, they have to be prepared to just go anywhere. So one actor would say, okay, let's be bakers. And then you have to say yes and the dance arranger is the yes and person. And so yes and they're Martians. And then she has to write Martian music. But basically it's thinking on your feet and being a brilliant musician at the same time. And then getting your name in teeny tiny.
We'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Trudy. She was born Gertrude Rittman in Germany in 1908. And she was a child piano prodigy. Yeah. And then she quickly had a successful, early on she had a successful career as a concert pianist, but then started actually composing as well in Germany. I'm assuming classical works.
And she was considered one of the foremost female composers of the time in Germany.
Yeah, I have a quote here. She was called Germany's most brilliant woman composer.
Yeah, and so this was in the early 30s, when it was not becoming so comfortable to be a Jewish female woman composer.
Right, she was. Her father was Jewish, but she had to leave. Flee Germany to escape the Nazis. And by 1937, she arrives in New York, and she had great credits.
Yeah, well, unlike a lot of the refugees, she had great skills.
And top-notch musical credits and connections.
And people actually knew who she was, so she didn't have a lot of trouble finding work.
She actually started working for George Balanchine and American Ballet Caravan, which was the precursor to the New York City Ballet. And through working there, she met Agnes de Mille. And Agnes de Mille had just the year before done Oklahoma on Broadway and helped revolutionize the American musical. So then Rodgers and Hammerstein asked Agnes de Mille to choreograph their next show, which was Carousel, and she brought Trudy Whitman with her to be the dance arranger on Carousel.
Because suddenly, after the success of Oklahoma, every musical had to have a big ballet, and that was something the composer probably wasn't interested in doing and really didn't have time to.
Well, here's a question. Why doesn't the composer of a show do their own dance arrangements?
Well, because a musical comes together really fast. First, the deal is inked, as they say in Variety. And then there's just a certain number of weeks, and then it has to open on Broadway or they'll lose their theater. So the composer has to really be writing new songs, changing things, doing all those upstairs things. He really can't wander off for a whole day and work with the choreographer.
Or for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Working with creating a big ballet like the one in Carousel,
Right.
which is, 8 minutes long or something like that, maybe more, 12 minutes. And it's a whole story. I don't know if you remember in Carousel, but in the second act, the daughter, Louise, is introduced through this big ballet. And Trudy Rittman with Agnes DeMille would have created the music entirely to that.
Right.
And Richard Rodgers would have been in the other room working with the principals and maybe writing new songs or changing songs, having to do that work. So mostly the composers don't have time to do the dance arrangements.
And sometimes they simply don't have the skills. Like Richard Rodgers could have written his own ballet music. He did have classical skills and had written actually ballets at the beginning of his career. But some Broadway composers tap out their tunes on a toy xylophone. They know nothing about classical,
composition,
working out elaborate musical routines.
So obviously Carousel was a big hit, and the ballet was a big success.
Right.
And I know Agnes DeMille talks about another dance in there, which is the hornpipe that goes with blow high, blow low,
Right.
the sailor's hornpipe.
A fairly simple song, blow high, blow low, a sailing we will go.
It's basically a very typical hornpipe.
Right, and it's a great one. It's actually
But
very
you can't
clever.
sustain that for a 6-minute dance number.
Yeah, it's like 16 bars long.
Just the tune itself. So she's got to now make this into a 6-minute dance number that builds and has climaxes and does all the things. And Agnes DeMille, who didn't always have the nicest things to say about Richard Rodgers later in her career, claimed that Trudy Rittman was the only one that Richard Rodgers could not have done what Trudy Rittman did in that regard. Let's move on into their next show, and she has this long career with Richard Rodgers. She actually works with Rodgers. Trudy Rittman does longer. Did I go out? Just for a second. Longer than Rodgers works with Hammerstein. She continues after Hammerstein dies. They are a team. The next show, however, was South Pacific.
Right.
Agnes DeMille's not hired for that because there really is no choreography in South Pacific. There's no choreographer. And the dances are just simply staged by Josh Logan, who was the director of it.
Because he wanted it to actually look as though the real CBs and the real nurses were just making up their own dances. So he didn't want anything fancy.
So what did Trudy do on this show?
Well, since there wasn't any dance arranging for her to do, she basically underscored the whole show like a movie score, with like these. After a while, you just get used to it and you're not really aware of it, but the music is manipulating your emotions the way a movie score does.
And it's very unusual. There aren't many shows that do that, but South Pacific has music almost throughout, under all the dialogue, all the scenes, and it's brilliant.
It's really very effective, and it's beautiful.
She's putting in there the emotions and the feelings of the characters.
Right, and telling us things about the characters that they don't even know yet. She's telling us how they're falling in love, but they don't realize it.
And we have a good example of that. At the very top of South Pacific, there's a song called Twin Soliloquies, which you might remember Emile DeBeck and Nellie Forbush are having cocktails on the veranda of his house. And they each sing a little section of a song. It's very simple, but give us a little example.
But
Nellie
it's really
sings.
Interior they're not singing to each other. It's like
it's their inner thoughts.
Hearing the thoughts that are in the. So Nellie starts thinking, wonder what I'd feel living on a hillside, looking at an ocean beautiful and still.
Thinking about what happened if she married Emile.
And that's really the extent of the tune. Da 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 da. And then he sings, this is what I need, this is what I've longed for. Someone young and smiling, climbing up my hill. Then she sings da 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 da. Then he sings da 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 da.
So it goes back and forth several times.
Yeah.
Now, not taking anything away, it's a brilliant piece of writing. It's very, very effective. But as Josh Logan describes it in his biography, he says they were rehearsing it and it was wonderful and he was like really into it, but then the music stopped and he felt like it couldn't end there.
Yeah, it just sort of ends on a da-da-da-da-da.
And the scene had to go on, and he said to Trudy, we got to do something here. I need, and so he staged a moment where they came together and they stared at each other, and he handed her the brandy flask, and she takes the brandy, and they sip the brandy, and they stare at each other, and you realize that they now know what they want to do. That they were first trying to figure out how they feel, and then they know how they feel. But Trudy Rittman wrote the music for that moment, and it actually has a name in the score. What's it called?
It's called Unspoken Thoughts.
Unspoken Thoughts. We
So
just have
now they're not even singing their words. The music is telling us what's happening.
So they just finished singing, and this is what happens. They're crossing toward each other. They're staring at each other. They're sipping the brandy. So it's Trudy supplying that emotional climax that's happening right at that moment.
Exactly.
She does that all the way through South Pacific.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. The whole show is powered by Trudy Rittman's compositions in there. Then moving to, I think, probably the most amazing moment for Trudy is The King and I, which is another Roger Hammerstein show, now with choreography by Jerome Robbins, the great Jerome Robbins. And in that show, there's an extended ballet called The Small House of Uncle Thomas. If you remember that show, in the second act, Tup Tim, who is the slave girl, creates this ballet, creates this to present in front of the king to try to show him what's wrong with slavery. This turns out to be a very bad idea for Tup Tim, but she does it anyway, and there is this...
So the music has to sound like somewhat authentic Siamese music. It cannot sound like just Broadway show music. So Trudy got a lot of authentic Eastern instruments and played around with them, and she created this extraordinary music. It really sounds like something that would have been at the Ballet Russe or something that's not at all tonal. It's very just strange gongs and click-clacks, and she made a composition out of that.
And so again, she went away with Jerome Robbins for weeks to work on this number. And we've got a little clip. This is just a little 30 seconds of what is a 13-minute ballet. It's one of the greatest achievements, I think, that ballet in musical theater history. You remember the story, it's the Little House of Uncle Thomas, and Eliza is running away from Simon Legree. Run, Eliza, run. This is the section where Simon Legree shows up. We'll just show you a little bit. And everything you hear was written by Trudy Rittman.
Of a sudden she can see wicked Simon of Legree sliding across the river fast with his bloodhounds and his slaves. What has happened to the river? What has happened to the river? Buddha has called out the sun! Buddha has called out the sun! Sun has made the water soft! Wicked Simon and his slaves, falling river and on ground.
So that just gives you a little taste of what she did. There's a famous thing that Richard Rodgers said. I believe it was the day that Jerry Robbins finally said, "Okay, let's get Rodgers and Hammerstein down here and we'll show them what we've done." And they presented the ballet for them for the first time. And at the end of that, Richard Rodgers said to Trudy,
He said, Trudy, it's supposed to be Rodgers and Hammerstein, not Rodgers and Rittman.
But he kept it in the show.
Yeah, and took all the credit.
It literally, she again gets dance music arranged by Trudy Ritman.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, 10 minutes of that show is entirely her work.
But again, she was extremely respected within the business, and it wasn't just Rogers that wanted her to work with them. It was all the big...
She actually had other relationships. Yeah. She had a long relationship with Cole Porter, also with Irving Berlin. She did Kiss Me Kate, Call Me Madam, Can Can, Little Abner. I'm reading the wrong one. I'm reading the wrong one. No, she had a relationship with Julie Stein also, but Lerner and Loewe, she did all of the Lerner and Loewe shows. I'll tell you what I was referring to in just a minute. Let's just talk one more thing, because I think people really understand this. She also did The Sound of Music.
Right.
And in one of the great examples of In Do, Re, Mi, you remember there's the Do, Re, Mi song. There's that section where they sort of play, she's teaching them how to sing, and they do the do, mi, so, re, fa, la, ti, and she's hitting him on the head, and they sing, and they do sort of like the xylophone kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's all Trudy Ritman. Richard Rogers didn't write that at all. Trudy Ritman and, in this case, Joe Layton, who was the choreographer, got in the room, and they worked it out, and they worked out a routine. Oh, let's have him like play the piano on them, like, and do the xylophone with the kids. And Trudy comes up with that in rehearsal.
Yeah.
So, one of the most iconic pieces. Now, Richard Rogers, and again, this is to take nothing away from Richard Rogers, who was a genius. The only thing I would say bad about Richard Rogers is he wasn't very good at sharing his credit, sharing with everyone what had actually happened on a show. Trudy, amazingly, is not the only great female dance arranger, vocal arranger of the golden age of Broadway. There's another woman who we don't really have time to go into tonight, but her name is Genevieve Pitot. And that's who I was reading you off of. She did 22 Broadway shows, and working mostly with Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, Kiss Me Kate, Call Me Madam, Can Can, and Little Abner were her shows.
And they tended to be the jazzier shows. And I always wondered, how did this French woman know so much about jazz? But then I found out she was born in New Orleans, so she grew up with jazz, and she really knew it from the inside out.
Yeah, so maybe another day we'll be able to go into her amazing career as well. But I hope that I like to spread the word about Trudy. Only in the last couple years has the truth about what Trudy contributed to the Broadway musical come forward, and the Rodgers and Hammerstein organization has come a long way in sharing it and making sure that people know about it. Yeah. I read this, she got paid $3,000 to do her work on The King and I. Now that sounds like a pitiful amount. If you do the math, it was actually about $26,000 would be today. Still, when you think about but she didn't get a royalty. That's all she got for doing that work. And a show that's been performed, that piece that's been performed now for over 50 years, it really was not. She should be getting a little piece of Richard Rogers' income there.
But she's not.
But thank you, Albert. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you later.
In the modern era of Broadway, we talked about the golden age, and then we move into the modern era, which I think starts in really about 1970. There have been a number of daughters of Dorothy and Trudy and Betty and all the rest have continued her legacy, and especially in most recent years. One of those is the pop singer and songwriter Cindi Lauper, who had a huge success with her first Broadway show, Kinky Boots. That show opened in 2013, ran for 6 years in New York, and was recently broadcast on PBS. The show received 6 Tony Awards, including Best Musical and Best Original Score. And when she was writing the show, Cindi Lauper says that she listened to Rodgers and Hammerstein and West Side Story, and then tried to channel their craft through her sensibility. I suspect she was also listening to Betty Comden, because she learned the lesson of how to create one of these character-defining songs. Let's bring Billie Wildrick back to the stage with Cindi Lauper's The History of Wrong Guys. I'm gonna go here.
Women have been making bad choices since the beginning of time. Are you gonna be another one of mine? Uh-oh. Used to think you were from outer space. Who's this bright-eyed guy in your place? You're kinda cute when you're not so shy. Uh-oh. I've been here before. Have I come back for more? Another chapter in the history of wrong guys. You used to be so a limp, lackluster bore, but now you're changing into something I just can't ignore. Charlie, honestly, I've been hurt like this before. Is there really more to you than what I always thought? How can you surprise me anymore? He's got a girlfriend, you flake. Why are they only nice when they're unavailable? The history of wrong guys. Chapter 1, he's a bum. 2, he's not into you. 3, he's a sleaze. 4, loves the girl next door. 5, loves the boy next door. 6, don't love you no more. Makes you insecure, makes you so unsure, is so immature, loves his mother more, or has a girlfriend named Nicola. To you than what I always thought, but I won't be burned anymore. The history of wrong guys.
Billie Wildrick, everybody. Over the past 30 years, a woman named Lynn Ahrens has written the lyrics to 6 Broadway musicals. Her most recent Broadway show was 2017's Anastasia, which she also adapted from her hit film, the animated feature film, which she, with her partner, composer Stephen Flaherty, they received the Academy Award for that movie for Best Original Song. Then just last year at the Fifth Avenue did the world premiere of Lynn and Steve's new musical, Marie Dancing Still. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful show. Their very first show, however, was 1990's Once on This Island. In 2018, it was revived on Broadway and won the Tony Award for Best Revival of a Musical. Here is Lisa Estridge with that song's character defining. Every shows often have a song we call an I Want song, which is where the character early in the show, maybe the first time you're meeting them, expresses what they want. One of the most famous in West Side Story is something's coming. We know immediately, we bond with that character of Tony because he wants something. I think this is another one of the best I Want songs ever written for a musical.
Oh, wow.
Don't
Thanks,
fuck
David.
it up. Yeah.
I'm really going to mess it up now. A stranger in white in a car going somewhere, going far. How it must feel to go racing wherever you please, flying as free as a bird with his tail in the breeze. Even the fish in the sea must be longing to fly, catching a glimpse of a stranger in white racing by. Oh gods, are you there? What can I do to get you to look down and give in? Oh gods, hear my prayer. I'm here in the field with my feet on the ground and my fate in the air, waiting for life to begin. Mama's contented and Tonton accepts what he gets. Happy for tea in their cups and no holes in their nets. Happy to have what they have and to stay where they are. They never even look up at the sound of a car. A stranger racing down their beach, racing to places I was meant to reach. My stranger, one day you'll arrive. Your car will stop and in I'll hop and off we'll drive. We'll drive. Oh gods, please be there. Don't you remember your little T-Moon from the tree? Wake up, look down, hear my prayer. Don't single me out and then forget me. Oh gods, let me fly. Send me to places where no one before me has been. You spared my life, show me why. You get me to rise like a fish to the bed, and tell me to it. Well, I'm waiting for life to begin. Waiting for life to begin.
Wow. Great job. You want to find out what's going to happen to that girl, don't you? The national tour of that new Tony Award-winning production is going to be at the Fifth Avenue Theater opening May 12th, so you should go check it out. It's a really beautiful, amazing production. Lynn Ahrens and Steve Flaherty were awarded the 1998 Tony Award for their score for the landmark musical Ragtime. We've looked at character-defining songs, but just as important are songs that mark the turning point in a character's story. What musicals, I think, do so amazingly is take us inside the minds and the hearts of characters in a way that really a play or a film can't. That's what, for me, makes them realer than real, because we can experience all sides of this character. We can get inside their head in a way that you could really only do in a novel, other than a musical. This song comes late in the second act of Ragtime, and it reveals the inner struggle of the character simply named Mother. She has left her sheltered existence as a suburban wife and mother and been confronted with her husband's limited patriarchal view of the world. And she knows that something must change. Please welcome Billie back with Back to Before.
There was a time our happiness seemed never ending. I was so sure that where we were heading was right. Life was a road so certain and straight and unbending. Our little road with never a crossroad in sight. Back in the days when we spoke in civilized voices, women in white and sturdy young men at the oar. Back in the days when I let you make all my choices. We can never go back to before. There was a time my feet were so solidly planted. You'd sail away while I'd turn my back to the sea. I was content, a princess asleep and enchanted. If I had dreams, then I let you dream them for me. Back in the days when everything seemed so much clearer, women in white who knew what their lives held in store. Where are they now, those women who stared from the mirror? We can never go back to before. There are people out there unafraid of revealing that they might have a feeling, or they might have been wrong. There are people out there unafraid to feel sorrow, unafraid of tomorrow, unafraid to be weak, unafraid to be strong. There was a time when you were the person in motion. I was your wife. It never occurred to want more. You were my sky, my moon, and my stars, and my ocean. We can never go back to before. We can never go back to
Billie Wildrick, everybody. And Stephen Tran on the piano. Right now, the granddaughters of Dorothy are flourishing on Broadway. There are currently 9 shows running on Broadway that were written by women. I'll highlight just a few of them. 2019's Tony Award-winning Best Musical, Hadestown, has book, music, and lyrics by Anais Mitchell. Disney's Frozen is both on Broadway right now and playing at the Paramount Theater right here in Seattle, and it features music and lyrics by Kristen Anderson Lopez and her husband Bobby, and a book by Jennifer Lee. Jagged Little Pill has a score of both old and some brand new songs written just for the show by Alanis Morissette. The new musical Six was co-written by a woman named Lucy Moss. It just began previews in New York this week. Next month, a revival of composer Janine Tesori's 2004 musical, Caroline or Chains, will open. Janine is the composer of 5 Broadway musicals, including Fun Home and Shrek. And Seattle's own Come From Away, which started at the Fifth Avenue Theater in the Seattle Rep, has book, music, and lyrics by Irene Sankoff in collaboration with her husband, David Hine, and is going strong right now on Broadway, on the national tour, and with sit-down productions in Toronto, London, and Australia. All of these talented women walk in the footsteps of Rita Young, Dorothy Donnelly, Nora Bayes, Anne Rennell, Kay Swift, Betty Comden, Carolynn Leigh, and especially Dorothy Fields. 7 years after Sweet Charity, Coleman and Fields teamed up for one final show, 1973's musical Seesaw. The show received mixed reviews, but enjoyed a healthy run and produced some great songs. Sadly, Coleman and Fields' partnership was cut short the next year when Dorothy died at the age of 68. But what a career. For almost half a century, from the 1920s to the 1970s, her lyrics, smart, conversational, and beautifully crafted, delighted us. Albert has put together a cavalcade of her songs. Please welcome James and Billie back to the stage with our salute to Dorothy Fields.
Ready? All right. This is every song Dorothy ever wrote in 2 minutes.
8 minutes.
I feel the song coming on, and I'm telling ya, it's a victorious, happy and glorious new strain. You'll hear a sadder story ringing through ya.
Love and glory,
Hallelujah, and now that my troubles are gone, let those heavenly drums keep on drumming, 'cause I feel a song coming on. Dancing man is feeling blue, hear his heartbeat, a little tattoo. Dig-a-dig-a-doo, dig-a-doo-doo, dig-a-dig-a-doo, dig-a-doo. My darling, I'm in the mood for love, simply because you're near me. Funny, but when you're near me, I'm in the mood for
you're
love.
lovely to look at, delightful to know, and heaven to kiss.
You couldn't be cuter, plus that you couldn't be smarter, plus that intelligent face, you have a disgraceful charm for me.
You couldn't be keener, you look so fresh from the cleaner. You are the little grand slam I'll bring to my family.
I know why I've waited, know why I've been blue. Prayed each night for someone exactly like you.
I dream too much, but if I dream too much, I only dream to touch your heart again.
I must try to make the girl love me, make the girl love me. Now, by and by, I'll make the girl happy. I know how.
Don't blame me for falling in love with you. I'm under your spell, but how can I help it? Don't blame me.
A fine romance with no kisses, a fine romance, my friend. This is, we should be like a couple of hot tomatoes, but you're as cold as yesterday's mashed potatoes.
Like a ship at sea, I am lost in a fog. My mind is hazy, my thoughts are blue. Guess I'll always be kinda lost in a fog without you. Someday, when I'm awfully low and the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight.
With each word, your tenderness grows, tearing my fears apart.
And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish
managed. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look tonight.
The minute you walked in the joint, I could tell you were a man of distinction, a real big spender, good looking, so refined. Say, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for every guy I see. Hey, big spender, spend a little time with me.
If there's a wrong way to say it, a wrong way to play it, nobody does it like me. If there's a wrong way to do it, a right way to screw it up, nobody does it like me. I've got a big loud mouth, I'm always talking much too free. If you go for tact and manners, better stay away from me. If there's a wrong way to be a fool, the right way to not play cool, nobody does it like me.
Nothing's impossible, I have found, for when my chin is on the ground, I pick myself up, dust myself off, start all over again.
Where am I going, and what will I find?
It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
What's in this grab bag that I call my mind?
It's not how you go, it's how you land.
Where am I going? You tell me.
I tell you?
You tell me.
All right, grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries by the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street.
I used to walk
in the shade
with those blues on parade. Now I'm not afraid,
because this rover crossed over. If I never have a cent,
I'm rich as Rockefeller. Gold dust at my feet on the sunny side.
Milk and honey side
On the sunny side of the street.
Billie Wildrick, James Rocco. Come on out, gang. Lisa Estridge, Albert Evans, Stephen Tran, thank you so much. Take the bow, everybody, thank you. Thank you, one more time. Thank you. Okay. We have one more song for you. Good. Just want to thank you so much. As I said, we have one final song. This is another hit song by Betty Comden and Adolph Green. And even though it's a little downbeat, we thought it was the perfect way to end this evening. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next time at Broadway Nation. Thank you.
The party's over. It's time to call it a day. They burst your pretty balloon and taken the moon away. It's time to wind up the masquerade. Just make your mind up. The piper must be paid. The party's over, the candles flicker and dim. You dance and dream through the night. It seemed to be right just being with him. Now you must wake up. All dreams must end. Take off your makeup. The party's over. It's all over, my friend. Da 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 dee da. Da 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 da. You danced and dreamed through the night. It seemed to be right just being with him. Now you must wake up. All dreams must end. Take off that makeup. The party's over. It's all over, my friend. Good night, everybody.
Stephen Tran on the piano and our whole company. Good night. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.